Hello, and welcome to Paradise Lost, a show where my friends and I play Dungeons & Dragons. My name is David Stallings, and I'm the Dungeon Master for these adventures. But today, I'm once again your captain, as we take a little look at our little slice of paradise, and today in particular is quite an interesting one, as we are looking at episode 28, The Battle for Barovia. Very good episode. I loved this session so much.
It's just like top 10 for me, maybe.
Top 10.
But not top 5.
That's not what I said, so no.
Well, I agree to disagree. Scholars that get to say. Without further ado.
Is this mic on?
I'm sorry?
Is this fucking mic on?
I
I'm hearing you right now?
You tell me.
On your headphones.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Just do the recap. I'm not even
Our heroes race to the tallest tower of Castle Ravenloft. After realizing that Andre was definitely in trouble.
I'm dead.
In the process.
I'm dead.
The party diverged as Timothy and Stephen began racing to the top of the tower, since Timothy was focused on Strahd's heart, as a result of the suggestion. And Nereza, Lord Farquaad, and Aragal. Oh, I just had a stroke.
Yeah,
oh my god. Went to the lower entrance. It's a stroke, dude. What was that?
Oh, that's good.
It's fun. Upon entering inside, they could see that on the mosaic-covered floor of the tower was the lifeless form of Andre, being held aloft by Strahd, who had just finished killing him.
I did.
Strahd tossed Andre aside as he realized the new arrivals were here.
Tossed it to the side like garbage.
So dinner's up?
Strahd actually just ate. He just ate dinner.
Yeah. Oh, on full. Yeah.
Stephen and Timothy raced to the top of the tower as bats were beginning to swarm down. Now hundreds of thousands of them, but the bats...
The bats you were mentioning.
Yeah. But the bats were suddenly assaulted by hordes of hundreds of ravens.
The Raven Army.
The keepers of the feather.
Ah.
Officially fighting the battle with the party. Doing something productive.
Viva la resistance.
Viva la resistance.
Fighting bats. So
Fighting bats.
Yep.
That's what they could do.
Thanks, guys.
As the group entered the tower, the beating of the glass heart above beat louder and louder, vibrating through the chamber, threatening to throw those on the stairs off balance. Meanwhile, shadows of our heroes began to emerge from the walls periodically, trying to sap the strength of those around them. Strahd began rushing up the stairs to engage in combat with Nereza, Lord Farquaad, and Aragal, focusing mainly on Nereza since she has the Sun Sword, and he made a promise to kill her first.
It's a man of his word, I respect that.
No.
Well,
Well,
he's
no.
not. He's not. He's not. Meanwhile, Stephen and Timothy stood at the top of the tower, looking at the beating glass heart.
It was a giant heart.
I wonder if that's it.
Yeah, it's gotta be it. Timothy flew over to it and latched on, trying to pull it down so he could go give it to Nereza, of course.
My task was clear.
But to no avail. However, during this, those under the effect of the fly spell from Casimir felt the spell dissipate, indicating that he has lost concentration elsewhere in the castle. But leaving Timothy now hanging from the heart 200 feet above the tower floor. Now, I do want to say with that, because you guys immediately were like, stupid Casimir,
Yes.
he dropped the spell. Idiot.
I'm still like that.
He's like, you just set him off. It's 10 minutes long. Why do you do that? So in preparation for this session, I actually did like a combat encounter of just Casimir versus the stuff in the castle that he would encounter to determine what kind of combat he would get into. And every time he took a hit, he had to make a concentration check. And it was like 3 rounds after combat officially started, he lost it. So that way, there was some ambiguity of...
There is no forgiveness.
There is no...
Forgiveness. There's no forgiveness.
It's still an idiot.
Right.
Still an idiot, yes.
Supreme idiot. Does he not understand if we fail in this, you die anyway? So go save your fucking sister, sure.
Yep.
We'll save you while we're at it.
Yep. That was why. So that's why the fly spell ended at that specific point, which
Right at
was
convenience, right.
was just like super coincidental that Timothy had just jumped out onto a very
Gave it a good old
precarious
hug,
circumstance.
And then suddenly I was hanging on to that heart for my life.
Right. But below, Aragol and Nereza had engaged in melee with Strahd. Aragol managed to find an opening on Strahd and released a painful strike into him with his short sword. For the first time, Strahd showed signs of pain, and the beating heart above suddenly shattered into thousands of pieces.
Still hasn't come back to my turn yet.
No.
And
So good.
suddenly my fly is gone.
Yeah.
And then the heart shatters and I'm falling.
Yeah, happened like that.
Really good.
And all of the glass turned into blood.
So that was like his like armor. His
Yes.
Gotcha.
So through the whole campaign,
Mm.
he had a connection with this heart that was made through some kind of ritual, and every time you guys attacked him, he could choose to have that thing take the damage, with the caveat of if that thing ever took 0, he's dead. So there was always a point. There was sometimes in combat where you guys were dealing with him that initially he would show no signs of pain, and then suddenly he's showing some pain because you guys lowered them enough that he was like, okay, we're done doing that.
Right.
And
Time
that's
for my second phase.
yeah, that was usually the trigger too of like, okay, we need to be a little bit more thoughtful in this because you basically had a buffer of like maybe like 2 rounds where you
So
could just take
when
the
would the
damage.
HP come back to the heart?
It
That was the case
recovers.
the whole time?
It recovers every day.
Oh. So we could have like chased him during like one of those times and then
If you guys got to a circumstance where like through that whole
he ran away
campaign,
that one time.
through the whole campaign, it could have been possible to like to turn him to mist or something. Like that was always a possibility. But you would never be able to kill him outright because of the heart.
But the heart will bye-bye.
This was the moment that in this final battle he was not switching it. And suddenly the heart exploded. So that was the mechanic with it.
Interesting. I want one of those.
Right? Yeah,
We'll do it.
I'll take one.
We'll do one
please.
of those.
I'll do one of those.
Yeah, let me get one of those.
I mean, that's always possible. You never know. You never know.
no,
we have
I'm
one of
doing
those.
it.
Yeah,
so.
I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Okay. And as the heart shattered, Stephen was already in the process of attempting to lasso Timothy to get him
Right.
back to the stairs,
Last ditch effort.
but was unable to catch him as Timothy began to plummet 200 feet
It
below.
was a good attempt. It was a good lasso.
It was a good attempt. Filled with rage, Strahd began to lash out at Nereza as the light of her sun sword was causing great issue for him, managing to hold her in his grasp and knock her unconscious with an unarmed strike. So there was also I had written this in that because of the heart as well, there were times where Strahd was actually immune to the daylight effect that was happening from like the sun sword and the holy symbol.
Oh.
Once that broke, there was an immediate switch in the combat. He was focusing on Nereza anyway, but he was trying much more so to get rid of it. Shown by he saw her body go limp from that unarmed strike, and instead of finishing her, Strahd smiled before throwing the sun sword from her, throwing it out of the tower, landing on the parapet nearby. The sun sword was out for the battle at that point, as then he dropped her off the side of the stairs, and she plummeted at the same time as Timothy, 100 feet down below.
We all met on the ground. It was
Yeah.
really quaint
Adorable.
experience.
It was
Yeah.
adorable. Yeah, you all met up. It was great. Meanwhile, as that was happening, as Nereza went unconscious and was also falling, Timothy was still falling. And for the first time,
Been in mid-fall for like 2 rounds.
Yeah. For the first time, Timothy used Timothy used a new ability he gained to invoke duplicity from his deity,
My man Mask.
causing a duplicate of himself to form above him, falling with him. This was probably like the most important play of the battle. Thinking quickly, Timothy timed a use of his spell Healing Word to be cast from the duplicate on himself at the exact moment that Timothy would impact on the floor, bringing him back to
Rubber banded.
consciousness immediately. and God, it worked.
Amazing.
That was the most. Looking back, I do think that was the most important move in the battle.
Yeah, because I would have stayed dead.
That's true.
Andre was already dead. Nereza was going to die,
Mm.
and then you would also be dead,
Yeah,
or
for
in the
sure.
process of it.
That's half the crew.
Because I was at the ground at like 4 HP after that, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Because it was during this as well. This is like when you think about the process of what's happening. There's 2 people falling, and then Strahd also was jumping down as well. Because at that point too, it was like, I am going for the kill. Strahd was trying to.
Time to finish this.
Yeah, especially with Nereza too. He was very much like, she needs to die. So he jumped down after. So that's why like, that was probably the most clutch move in the battle. It was so cool that worked. So Strahd jumped down to the floor of the tower to hopefully finish off the 2 others who had just collapsed there. This was also important because however, Stephen used this opportunity to summon a Great Ape Demon to slam down onto Strahd as well, now harrying Strahd's path. Because even with you guys being healed, it was probably not going to be hard for him to down you again.
Because here he comes, but then suddenly gorilla.
Yeah. Now forcing him to confront this demon, Lord Farquaad then began to summon multiple spiders within the tower, and they began to enlarge and fight alongside the party, shooting webbing towards Strahd in an attempt to restrain him, one managing to do so successfully. Strahd's plan was halted as now he focused on trying to kill the demon while stuck, but did not manage to do so immediately.
It's so close to finishing his prey. He's like within 3 feet.
This was, I mean,
so
that
close.
round, that one round, like, drastically changed the course of this. Because your next turn, Timothy looked up to see all of this chaos around him, as well as 2 of his companions collapsed on the floor, noticed Andre was actually dead. This was your
super
first.
duper dead.
This was your first time
really
seeing him.
dead.
You crawled over to him, placed a hand on his chest, and released one of your uses of Raise Dead.
And you weren't a pile of dust, so it worked.
As a result,
Great.
as a result of your dark gift from the Amber Temple. And Andre was alive.
Who was dead?
Who was dead? Following this, Timothy was able to then heal Nereza, bringing her back to consciousness as well. Strahd managed to finish off the demon as other vampires began arriving in the tower. As they rushed to help him, the giant spiders converged on his restrained form, biting into him. He started to look severely hurt, and Andre stood up, looked across the tower floor to Strahd, and all of the chaos ensuing. As he just awoke from death, he suddenly summoned 6 bolts of the magic missile around him. And Andre simply said,
Not fucking around. He's got a hit.
Start
yeah,
blasting.
yo, for real. Andre simply said, "Counter that, you fucker," before the bolts slammed into him. Strahd screamed out in pain, and his form shifted into that of a cloud of mist that suddenly darted into the floor. The first step was complete, but Strahd was not dead yet. Now they needed to find his crypt.
For phase 3.
It was just so cool, that ending though, with because we were making jokes the whole time, like Colton's just not in it at all.
Yeah, I thought I was gonna do a new character, and I was excited.
Yeah, no, we had that possibility in there,
Yeah.
but you waking up at the end of it,
Let's do it.
you waking up at the end of it and doing that final hit, because also you hit so much damage with it. You rolled only like 4s and 3s on the dice, which was awesome.
That's how we do it.
It was, oh my gosh, that was.
What? Do you remember his hit points?
I don't remember his exact hit points, but I don't think he was guaranteed to die there.
Yeah.
I think he may have been at like 20.
Okay.
Because your magic missile did like 28 or something.
It did
right?
28. So you definitely.
That's a lot.
Right.
No,
When
it was.
has a magic missile ever done 20 anything?
Well, that's 6th or 5th level.
Right.
Yeah, no, it was 4th.
4th level. Okay.
But still.
Yeah. I didn't have 5th level at
Nope, you guys were level 8.
the time. Asshole.
Just give us a free level.
Sorry.
Halfway in between.
Well, I messed up with how I was doing the milestone leveling, and then I was.
The admission.
No, I straight up like messed it up, and it was like, well, That's a shame.
Oh,
That's a shame.
Knew
Hope
it.
they don't die.
Well, I read through it and the stats that I had changed for some stuff too, and was like, no, I think they're gonna be fine. But obviously, it was even more of a challenge through it. But so far, you guys are prevailing.
wasn't close.
Yeah.
It wasn't even close. As Strahd's mist disappeared within the tower, a sense of urgency overcame the group. They quickly dispatched the other vampires that had come into the tower, and Nereza retrieved her sun sword from the parapet. Aragorn, finally seeming to fulfill his reason for being involved in the prophecy at all,
That guy.
began to lead the group through the castle, having
Really
the knowledge
cool
of
for
how to get to the crypt below. The allies in this campaign did nothing. Rushing through the castle, avoiding the traps as Aragorn points them out, they managed to reach the crypt. During this, Timothy had locate object cast in
Over
search of the holy symbol of Ravenkind
Located the object.
and Irina.
Yeah.
The crypt of the castle was filled with dozens of tombs within. Stephen could hear Casimir nearby, sobbing. And following the crying, they peered in and found that Casimir, though he was seriously wounded, had managed to resurrect the one in the coffin, his long-dead sister, Patrine. He had succeeded. Barely.
Good for him.
Good for you, asshole.
Right?
Good for you, asshole. Oh man,
Oh.
it is unfortunate the immense shift in him, because he did become an asshole after he
All
gift.
plummeted to the ground.
Yep.
Could have used that fly.
Could have
Could have used him.
used him.
Even if he sat on the ground and waited 10 minutes before going in, that would have been great.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything.
You guys searched and found one crypt that had an epitaph saying Irina Kolyana, wife. And as you threw open the crypt, or should I say Stephen thaumaturgied the crypt,
Naturally.
Irina's
Something.
corpse was found as it lunged at the group. She had been turned into a vampire, and in a heartbreaking display, the group had to put her down, their once ally. Having slain her, Timothy took back the holy symbol of Ravenkind from the one who once brought him back from the dead.
Don't you feel bad? You could have spent some time after the castle, researching. All right, how do we fix the vampire situation? No, they're already all dead.
Nope, killed them all. Yep. Which maybe that could have been a thing, but
Oh, it could have been.
oh, it could have
Who's to say?
Me.
Who is to
been.
say?
Golden's a deal.
I'll make an arcane check right now. Arcana.
One thing was left. They needed to find Strahd's crypt. I don't
need your dice.
Or we make.
Alright,
No,
you're
always make an
advantage.
Arcana
With
check.
advantage?
Yeah.
Oh, he's got advantage.
Oh, 2 sevens.
She's incredible.
That's probably still 17 to be honest.
That's true. That's true.
Nice roll.
Luck.
One thing was left. They needed to find Strahd's crypt. As they came closer to it, Stephen was leading the way, trying to make sure that his hurt teammates did not take any hits. But he
What a
suddenly
man.
vanished from sight.
Right.
There he goes.
Andre ascertained that the area they were heading into was surrounded by magical traps to teleport unsuspecting people away.
Huh.
And Stephen could see that he was in a chamber
This is a trap.
Right.
covered in bones and coffins and crypts alike, with a shaft above 30 feet to get out.
Right. Andre was starving.
He was trapped. He attempted to lasso onto a portion of the shaft above, but upon trying to climb, was unsuccessful in getting out. Timothy managed to go back and convince Casimir to come help by dispelling the trap they found. With no time to waste, the group rushed forward and down the steps, leading to Strahd's personal crypt. As they arrived, seeing the coffin in front of them closed, out from the dirt of this chamber arose 3 female vampires, previous brides of his, who lashed out at the group. Meanwhile, Stephen tried once again to lasso out of this chamber and managed to do so successfully. Now, wouldn't that have been something that just
Lasso.
wasn't there for
Just
the end
stuck.
of it?
Yeah. Sorry guys, I'm in a shaft. Trying to get out.
Luckily, upon getting out, he had realized he had just been teleported to a different area of the crypts. He sprinted towards his friends and rejoined the fight.
Teleported through.
The group, together, the sun sword filled the chamber with daylight. As their skin began to crack immediately from the light, our heroes destroyed the vampires quickly. With that, the group prepared to open the coffin and hopefully kill Strahd. They pulled out their wooden stakes, Stephen deciding to use the dagger he had taken from Chaos all those days ago. Chanting their mantra
So close.
together, the coffin was thrown open and smoke filled the crypt. Everyone stabbed blindly and found purchase in the body
As
of
it wasn't
Strahd.
him?
Yeah, it was just some guy.
Wrong coffin.
Yeah. And found purchase in the body of Strahd. Nereza stabbed into his chest, and the wound she created formed purple energy that shot out from Strahd, throwing the heroes back momentarily, cracking the chamber and impacting the entire castle itself, if not all of Barovia. Holes began to form throughout Strahd's body, his body beginning to disintegrate. As Strahd lay in disbelief, he called out for his love, Tatiana, before his entire body turned to dust. Strahd was dead.
Bring him back.
Bring him back. Yeah. I can't. It's dust. We know this.
And that's all that happened.
Really? There's not more? Seriously, it just ends like that with
Wow.
Strahd dying?
Dumb.
Yeah, I mean,
What a weird
who
ending.
would have thought?
What a weird ending. Honestly.
This was such a fun. This was like one of the most intense sessions I've ever run, though. Like there was so much energy through this whole thing. Also a lot of screaming.
Purple energy.
Purple energy
Oh,
specifically.
wait.
Interesting.
Purple screen.
Interesting. But anyways, we hope you enjoy. One more episode, one more slice of this time.
Yeah, and honestly, just skip it.
Just skip it. It's fine.
Can't skip it if there's no episode after that.
That's no. Well, there'll be more.
There will be more.
There'll be more.
Oh,
I promise.
skip it. Yeah.
There's another campaign coming.
Yeah. If you do watch the next one, you'll hear about it. Maybe.
You'll hear a little bit about it.
Who's to say?
Who's to say? Science will tell. Anyway, thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you soon. Bye bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.